was incorporating Ivan's suggestions, but I want each home built with future expansion in mind. Come spring, we can add on to complete them. No, Maricela would never settle for anything less than perfect. Relieved, Murphy bobbed his head in something that fell just short of a bow.
As you say, Miss Rios. I'll have the final plans ready for you before the summer festival.
Good. Nita started rolling the preliminary sketches. My family's hosting the solstice ball this year. We can convince all our rich relatives to open their pockets and contribute. So at least one good thing will come of it, Maricela murmured. That's what I keep telling myself. Nita offered the sketches to the contractor, who gave her another of those nervous, almost bows. The eldest Rios daughter might not command the same deference as Maricela, but her family's vast estates ensured crafters and merchants tripped over themselves to keep her happy. She wasn't going to like the curfew much either, but Ivan couldn't afford to care.
If Murphy has everything he needs, it's time for us to head back.
Maricela didn't even look at him. Hardly. I have plenty more to do before I can go home. We should look over the furniture, Nita started, but her gaze drifted to Ivan. Even though her big brown eyes were deliberately innocent, he'd known her brother long enough to recognize that look. Rios got that same tilt to his head and slight pursing of his lips when he was pondering whether a fight he was about to pick was hopeless. Her brother usually threw himself into the fight either way. Nita was a lot smarter. We can make most of those decisions at home. It is getting a little late. Maricela propped her hands on her hips. She drew in a deep breath, bracing for an argument, but all she said was, "Fine." It sure as hell wasn't fine. Ivan would probably hear all about how not fine it was later. But Maricela was a Rios, and the Rios family maintained appearances in public. Most days, Ivan counted on it. A pointed look at the contractor convinced the man to keep his farewells quick. He bowed to each girl, actual bows this time, with promises and assurances spilling from him as he backed away. That left Ivan to herd his charges toward the jeep. Nita linked her arm through Maricela's as Ivan trailed behind them. Once they were out of the shelter of the shipping containers, the warm summer wind stirred their hair and tugged at the edges of Maricela's white dress. The hemline had grown dirty during an afternoon spent exploring the boundaries of the land set aside for refugee housing, and Ivan's gaze caught on it between repeated scans of their surroundings. Maricela could be at home, lounging by her pool or strolling through her gardens. She could be curled up next to the hearth in her suite with her favorite book. If she wanted to be productive, she could have joined the acolytes studying under Dell at the temple and picked a craft, sewing, weaving, needlepoint, even art. Those activities would have been safer, and most of them would have kept her white gowns pristine. But Maricela was a Rios, and a Rios wasn't happy unless they were tromping around the sector, trying to save everyone. He should know. 23 years ago, his big brother had saved him. He'd parked their vehicle in the middle of a clearing just off the main road. No opportunities for an enemy to conceal themselves nearby, and no way they could be lying in wait. But 15 feet from the jeep, Ivan spoke for the first time.
"You two wait here for a second."
Maricela made a noise that sounded suspiciously like a long-suffering sigh. Ivan ignored her. The jeep looked undisturbed. There were no new footprints in the dirt surrounding it, no indication it had been tampered with. But Ivan still dropped to the ground and slid under it, taking his time to examine every spot where an enterprising assassin could have hidden a bomb. Nothing. Partially mollified, he rolled back to his knees and scanned the area again. Maricela looked impatient, Nita exasperated. The breeze brought scraps of their low-voiced conversation to him as he rose and opened the hood. Enough to know they were still discussing whether the refugees could survive until spring without their own kitchens and laundry rooms. Ivan knew the answer. For 2 bitter years, he'd lived with his mother in conditions that would horrify his perfectionist princess. The memories were blessedly hazy, but checking the engine for sabotage didn't take enough concentration to distract from them. He could still remember the cold on the nights the temple shelters had been too full, or his mother had been too ashamed to seek one out. The nights they'd spent huddled together in a park or against the wall of a shop, as if they could soak up the heat through its surface. Sector 1 was generous to a fault sometimes, but when people thought you had conspired to kill one of their princesses, doors tended to close in your face. His mother had seen a lot of closed doors before Gideon rescued them. So Maricela could frown and sigh and roll her eyes all she wanted. Ivan was not taking chances with her safety. He finished his inspection.